Let us bring our attention to the top line of this paragraph. 52 weeks, remission, 90% in the case of ulcerative colitis. That is an attention getter. Now, keep in mind too, what I normally do when looking at research on a weekly basis, I try to find the low-hanging fruit. Elements of research with the outcomes and the materials using those outcomes are technologically within our grasp. And this is the result of the consumption of Indigo Naturalis. So, without further ado, let's get right into the research, because this is real exciting information in regard to ulcerative colitis remission. Plus, there's a few other interesting side notes, but let us go straight ahead into this. Maintenance efficacy of oral Indigo Naturalis for ulcerative colitis, a single-center, open-label, randomized controlled study. Now, as we read you the first paragraph, you're going to recognize this is a trial after a trial, but we'll get into that in a second. The remission rates at 52 weeks were 90% of patients in the IN, which is Indigo Naturalis, continued group, and 20% in the Indigo Naturalis discontinued group. Now, what that means is they had quite a bit of success in a prior study, and they wanted to validate the efficacy of utilizing Indigo Naturalis to maintain ulcerative colitis per se in remission, and henceforth this arm of the study. So as we go forward, check this out. I want to show you a little bit of a teaser, and we'll get into more detail. Look at this graph, or this chart, I should say. Look at basically your clinical activity index. Some people may recognize from other type of ailments as well. Very utilized highly in IBS and things along those lines, as well as ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, you name it. Look at the results of the 52 weeks. This is from study number 1. Look at the C-reactive protein. That I shouldn't have to explain much at all, since most of our channel tends to be researchers. Look at the C-reactive protein result after 52 weeks. Now, I know the light bulbs are going off because beyond even ulcerative colitis. Now, but we want to focus on ulcerative colitis since that is the primary outcome of this study. Look at the remission rates below. That is from study number 1. Study number 1, look at that. Yet, it went under the radar. To proceed. Now, keep in mind too, I didn't want the study to get lost. So, we're looking at an abstract. I was hoping the full study would come out. I waited a while. Full study was never published. So I want to cover it just so it doesn't get lost into the fold, because it is quite amazing. All right, let's go into the background. What happened? What was going on? Indigo Naturalis is one of the herbal medicines in Chinese medicine, where recent reports have demonstrated a strong remission induction efficacy of oral Indigo Naturalis in induction therapy for ulcerative colitis. To reiterate, but the efficacy of Indigo Naturalis in maintenance therapy for ulcerative colitis is unknown. Henceforth, they did one study, and they came back, and they wanted to do another experiment. So, what they did is they took one group, a control group, with placebo, and another group, the intervention group with the Indigo Naturalis. And that's where you had that 90% remission rate. So it's quite amazing. But we're going to go to the first study in a second. Here we go. A single-center, open-label, randomized control trial was conducted between August 17 and August 2020. And you see right there, it went for the last 1 year, and that's where they that's where they basically, I would say harvested as well. That's not good. That's where they recruited the patients for the current study in reference to remission. So they wanted to validate. And then let's look at that original study. You ready? Here we go. The back study, we'll say, as opposed to the back story. 1 year clinical efficacy and safety of Indigo Naturalis for active ulcerative colitis, a real-world perspective study. Now, I showed you the chart, which I'll show you once again in a second, but I wanted to bring this study to your attention because, as we already saw, the outcome was quite remarkable. But what did they do? Well, if you look here, it's the methodology. 1 gram of Indigo Naturalis capsule twice per day. Now, as you delve into the study itself, initially, when they came out of that study, it said, well, there was no significant difference between the 1 gram and the 2 gram, so they started the new study, the remission study, utilizing 1 gram, but as you read through it, in some cases, they boosted the dosage again. So I'm going to refer back to the original amount that they used in study number 1. Now, let's look at the chart. Here we go. There is your clinical activity index. Once again, look at that reduction. Look at the C-reactive protein reduction. You see, even the outliers in the first, in the beginning, it all goes down pretty low, and you don't have any outliers anymore outside those quartile groups. Then, now, that's in the C-reactive protein wall as well. Now, look at the clinical response and clinical remission rates down below. Again, I'll put the DOI citation for the first one, the remission study, even though it's going to be more of the abstract, but the detail in clinical, the center for first study is quite significant. So, let us start to conclude. Here we go. All right. Whoop, wrong page. So, to conclude, we're going to go back to the latest study, the remission study. Indigo Naturalis appears to be very effective in maintaining remission. The high efficacy of reintroduction in patients who relapsed. They were on a study, they were taking Indigo Naturalis, study was over, boom, relapse. And they reintroduced Indigo Naturalis. After discontinuation of Indigo Naturalis, slight reiteration there, suggests that discontinuation of Indigo Naturalis in case of remission may be an option. So, a lot of people had wonderful results and didn't need to take the Indigo Naturalis once again. But, again, the Indigo Naturalis still resulted in an incredibly high remission rate, 90% in that case. And I don't want to add publisher bias or interject hypothesis where it's not necessary. Indigo Naturalis is pretty amazing. In fact, if you review it in cases of skin disorders such as psoriasis, it'll even open new dimensions to you. But that, again, that would be introducing publisher bias, since that was not the primary objective of the initial 2 studies here. So you do your research on your own. Still pretty cool. So we tend to be, you and I, but those that follow this channel, since we deal with a lot of pilot studies, tend to be about 4 or 5 years ahead of the curve. If this surfaces, this Indigo Naturalis, it is going to be a huge benefit for humankind across the board. It is just a phenomenal, multifaceted, low-hanging technological fruit, herbal, that is available today. Just needs a little bit of tweaking maybe in some more studies, but still just the same. Promises out there is incredible. If you do venture out on your own, please consult your medical professional. Again, since we don't offer any medical advice, we just review it. Again, thank you. Gratitude. Gratitude, as always, to the researchers. I am humbled you watch and look forward to see what you and I once again uncover next week. Catch you next time. Bye.